Good morning. I'm Alex King. I'm the Assistant Regional Engineer in the Utah Lake Jordan River office under Chase McDonald, who presented a couple presenters ago. I know I'm the last scheduled presenter before lunch, so I'll try to get through this one. I know everybody's looking forward to that. But first, I'd like to give you a overview of making and filing applications. Test. Is that better? You hear me? Perfect. All right. I'd like to give you a general overview of our website and some of the tools you might find useful as you begin your process of filing applications with the division. We'll talk about how to complete an application. I'll introduce the Public Land Survey System, which is the mapping system used by the division. We'll talk about some of the calculations you may need to do when you're preparing your paperwork, as well as what you'll need to do to prepare your application map. Then at the end, I will answer any questions you may have, or if you have any questions up until that point, feel free to raise your hand. Let's begin with some of the website tools. When you go to our website, located at waterrights.utah.gov, there are 3 convenient items designed to make it easier to navigate the site. The first is the search link, which is used to search for specific water rights. You can search by water right number, by exchange number, or by the owner's name. There's also a map search, which allows you to search for property to see what water rights are located near the property. This can be so helpful if you're looking for water rights to buy or see if you have current water rights in your name. Second is the applications forms link. This is where you're going to find the applications or forms you may file here with the division. This is also where you update your address with the division. Please note, it is the owner's responsibility to keep a current address on file. So there is an easy to use hyperlink that can be used for updating that. Third is the policies by water right area map. When you click on this, you will see that all of the different counties are assigned to a different watershed areas with different numbers. Each area is color-coded by the regional office it is assigned under. If you click on a water right area, important information for working with water rights can be found here. Let's look at each section. Let's see. First is the management section. This is where you'll find any decrees or groundwater management plans for the area. Decrees typically come about through the adjudication process or from court cases. Groundwater management plans are typically 3-year studies on the area. Next is the sources section. This section allows you to see different sources of water for the area and whether the rights for those sources have already been completely appropriated or if there are still water rights available. If all the rights have been appropriated, someone needing a right would need to find one for sale. Third is the general section. Important information here includes the duty value for the area, which will be discussed in depth later in this presentation. This section also has other information on permitting, such as where you might publish notice for certain applications. Please note that you can click on the highlighted area of the map to see a more detailed map of the covered area. Next are the references and modeling sections, which contain links to scanned documents for technical publications and file reports for your area. Let's move on to filing applications. There are some elements that are common to all applications, whether they are changes, exchanges, or applications to appropriate. The first is that all require the name of the applicant and a valid address, as well as the ownership interest in the water right. Water quantity is also important. Typically, water is measured by volume in acre feet, but sometimes can be as a flow, which is in cubic feet per second. The point water is diverted will also be important. For example, if you plan on digging a well and then maybe there's a canal to your irrigation site, the point of diversion is the location of the well, not where you're starting to irrigate. How the water will be used is needed. For example, irrigation, domestic use for water in a home, or stock watering are a few common ways water is used. The location where the water is being used is generally required, along with a map. Finally, all owners will need to sign any applications. For example, if your water right is the name of a trust, you'll need to sign as a trustee. If you are the manager of an LLC that owns the right, you need to sign as the manager. If you're filing a share or if you have shares in an irrigation company, the irrigation company is considered a member or a party member on that change, so they will need to sign it as well. Please note that there is a filing fee for all applications. Having all these details gathered before calling the division will make the process smoother, whether you're calling about an application to appropriate, in other words, a new water right, or if you're filing a change application, meaning you found an existing water right, you purchased it, and now you want to change it and have it moved to your property. If you're calling about a contract or about shares in an irrigation company, that is also helpful information. Additional information, such as points of diversion, places of use, and uses of the water, or how they will change, can be helpful to get the information you need. Now, let's take a look at common filing mistakes. The first is that people will try to file an application for a water right before updating ownership. Before a change can be made to a water right, the ownership must first be updated on the division's records. This is usually completed by filing a report of conveyance. If you have shares in an irrigation company, that requires reaching out to the irrigation company to make sure the records are updated. The next common filing mistake is someone will try to file a change to a right that has not been segregated from a larger right. For example, say you have a water right with 100 acres of irrigation. For 100 acres of irrigation, you intend to move 1 acre of that irrigation to a new property, but the rest is going to remain the same. Segregating that 1 acre to a new right allows you to file a change separate from the parent right. Another reason to segregate a right would be if you are one of several owners of a larger water right and you're the only one that intends to change the place of use or point of diversion. Filing a segregation first makes it easier to make a change.
Got a
Question?
We just talked about segregating rights. If you segregate a right in order to submit proof of beneficial use on a portion of that, and there's a portion that you want to file extensions on or non-use, what happens to priority? Does priority remain the same as the parent right?
Yes, I believe it does. Yes.
His belief is correct. It does.
Yes.
All the characteristics stay the same on segregated portions.
But then you file a change and the priority changes.
No. The priority of the underlying water right stays the same always. A change application priority comes into play with localized interference, and that's it. But if you take an 1815 water right and you change it somewhere, it's still 1815 priority over there, other than if you're impacting some other people over there, then you have lesser junior priority to them.
Okay. Thank you.
Let's look at how to segregate a water right. First, we'll look at segregating water rights found under the Applications Forms link on the main page of waterrights.utah.gov. Like most division forms, it's made fairly easy with the wizards online. The application wizard will populate the majority of the information, making it fairly easy after you enter a parent water right number. This includes the acre feet, in other words, the amount of water, and the uses. If there is a change on the water right, that also populates. From here, you will specify what you plan on removing from the water right, such as segregating 1 acre foot from the total volume, which equates to 0.33 acre. You also need to specify the uses. The owners will automatically populate, and all owners need to sign the form. Once the application is processed, the segregated water will be assigned a brand new water right number. Now, let's look at locating the placement of a water right. To do this, let's look at the Public Land Survey System. There are two main systems used by the division. First, the Salt Lake Basin Meridian, which covers the majority of the state. Second is the Uinta Basin Meridian, which covers a small portion around the Uinta Mountains. The Salt Lake Basin Meridian system is based off of Temple Square downtown. Just like our downtown is pretty organized, so too is this mapping system. The center point of the Uinta Basin Meridian is about 9 miles outside of Roosevelt. It is essential to know which basin meridian system you are using, or your point of diversion will be mapped incorrectly on our website. This will save you from mandatory paperwork and possible fees later on. Now, let's look at an example of how the Public Land System Survey works. Townships are the columns in this system, and ranges are the rows. Imagine you are downtown in Salt Lake City. If you were to walk 6 miles due north, you would be standing in Township 1 North. Going back to the center point at Temple Square, if you walk 6 miles east, then you would be on Range 1 East. Between these townships and ranges, we are able to locate different areas. For example, here is a 6-mile square located at Township 2 South, Range 2 West. The square can be broken up into smaller sections in order to narrow down a place of use. The township and range is broken up into 36 numbered sections that are all 1 square mile. Imagine a home on a very small parcel in one of these sections. To narrow down an area of the section further, it is divided into 4 quarters, labeled northwest, northeast, southwest, and southeast. Further, each quarter section can be divided into 4 quarters. This allows you to specify water use being in the southeast quarter of the northeast quarter of Section 13, Township 2 South, Range 2 West, Salt Lake Basin Meridian, as shown here. It is important to note that this is an ideal system where there's no mountains, rivers, or other geological formations that can break up the system and create what's known as lots. Here's another breakdown of a typical section showing different ways that quadrants can be described. It also shows the 8 different corners that can be referenced: the northwest corner, the north quarter corner, the northeast corner, the east quarter corner, the southeast corner, the south quarter corner, the southwest corner, and the west quarter corner. Now let's look at an example of marking a point of diversion under this system. If we are trying to locate a point at north 2,000 feet from the southeast corner, start at the southeast corner, measure due north for 2,000 feet, and that would be right where that dot is located. For another example, to locate a point at south 5,000 feet and west 12,000 feet from the east corner, first we measure 500 feet south of the east-west line and then 1,200 feet west of the east side boundary of the lot. There it comes up. One final example. To locate a point south 1,300 feet and east 4,000 feet from the northwest corner, first measure 1,300 feet south from the top border of the parcel, and then east 4,000 feet from the west border. Marking a place of use is very similar to marking a point of diversion, except it is for an area rather than a single point. Let's practice again. The first is pretty straightforward. As mentioned earlier, the 4 quarters of a section can be divided into 4 quarters as well. So if we divide the northwest quarter of this section into 4 quarters, we can then mark the northwest quarter of the northwest quarter. If someone is using a larger area, we can also divide one of the quarters of a section into halves. Here we will mark the south half of the southwest quarter, shown in red. And now the northeast quarter of the southwest quarter in green. Finally, a larger area that can be described by pairing together multiple descriptions. Here is the south half of the northwest quarter and the south half of the northeast quarter, shown in purple. Another important part of the application process is knowing how much water will be used. Let's look at how to calculate that. Common measurements of water are done in cubic feet per second, or CFS, which is a flow rate. The other measurement we use is a unit of volume called an acre foot. For today's purposes, we'll use acre feet instead of cubic feet per second. To calculate the diversion for irrigation, take the total acreage being irrigated and multiply it by the duty. The irrigation duty varies throughout the state. Use for a single full-time domestic unit or home is always considered to be 0.45 acre foot. A single part-time domestic unit, like a cabin or a summer home, requires 0.25 acre foot per year. There are also fixed values assigned to livestock. One equivalent livestock unit, or ELU, requires 0.028 acre foot per year. One livestock unit is considered one cow or one horse. Smaller animals are assigned different amounts that are fractions of one ELU. For example, it would take 5 pigs, sheep, or goats to equal 1 ELU. Likewise, it's 33 1/3 chickens to equal 1 ELU. Our website has a convenient calculator to calculate any stock watering equations you may need. Right. Now let's walk through an example. If someone wants to start a farm near Dugway, Utah, how much water do they need for 5 acres of irrigation, 50 cattle year-round, and a full-time home? First, we would look up the duty value for Dugway on the Policies by Water Right area map, and we would find the irrigation duty in Dugway to be 4 acre feet per acre. So if he wants 5 acres of irrigation, multiply that by the 4 acre foot duty to find that he needs 20 acre feet. Next, we'll look at the livestock. Remember, 1 cow or horse equals 1 ELU, which is 0.28 acre foot per year. Multiply that by 50 cattle to get 1.4 acre feet. Finally, a full-time home is always 0.45 acre foot. Add that all together, and the total is 21.85 acre feet. Let's look at another example. If a rancher has a water right for 300 cattle, so 300 ELU, how many sheep could he provide for with this right? As mentioned before, 5 sheep equal 1 cow or 1 ELU. So multiply 5 by 300 cattle, he can have up to 1,500 sheep with this water right. It's important to note if the rancher previously had 300 cows and he replaces them with 1,500 sheep, he does not need to file a change application with the division. The division does not care what livestock you are watering as long as you've done your math correctly. One more example. A developer wants to build a 10-lot subdivision in Delta. Each lot is supposed to have enough water for a 1/4 acre irrigation, 2 horses, and a full-time home. How much diversion will the water right need to have? Let's start with just 1 lot. Again, we look up the duty value, which is 4 acre feet per acre, for a 1/4 acre of irrigation, multiply that 1/4 acre by the 4 acre foot duty, and we get 1 acre foot for the irrigation around the home. Next, for the 2 horses, multiply that by the fixed rate of 0.028 to get 0.056 acre foot for the livestock. Finally, a full-time home is 0.45 acre foot. Add those together and each lot will require 1.50 acre feet. For 10 lots, we multiply that number by 10 to get 15.06 acre feet total. Now, what if someone already has a water right, but they want to change what it is used for, such as moving from stock watering to farming? This will require a change application, and the new water use cannot exceed the right. So let's look at an example. A farmer has a water right in Brigham City that serves 150 cattle year-round. He wants to change the water right to supply 1 full-time home, 1 part-time home, 10 horses, and irrigation for his yard. What is the maximum area in acres that can be irrigated after the other uses are accounted for? First, let's figure out what acre-foot amount he's working with for his 150 cattle. Multiply the 150 cows by that fixed rate of 0.028 and you get 4.2 acre-feet. Next, let's figure out what he's changing. We know for sure he wants the full-time home, which is 0.5 acre-foot, the part-time home, which is 0.25 acre-foot, and 10 horses, which are 0.028 acre-foot each, or 0.28, 0.28 acre-foot combined. Add that together and we get 0.98 acre-foot. Subtract that from his original 4.2 acre-feet, leaving 3.22 acre-feet for irrigation. To determine how much land can be irrigated, divide that by the duty for the area, which is also 4 acre-feet per acre, and he can irrigate 0.805 acre. Do you have a question?
Do these calculations take into consideration the diversion and depletion?
So this one only looks at the diversion because the stock watering is 100% consumptive, but I have one more on here and it does look at both. So we will get to that. Here it is. So let's move on to diversion and depletion. Diversion is the amount of water actually taken from the source. For example, a well might pull 4 acre-feet of water from the earth for irrigation. Depletion, on the other hand, is the amount of water that is consumed without being returned. For example, if a farmer pulls 4 acre-feet from a well to water a crop and only 50% of that water is returned back to the water system with the rest evaporating or being consumed by the crop, then 2 acre-feet are being depleted. Change applications require you to know both diversion and depletion, not just for the proposed change, but also historically for the right. This is essential to keep more water from being depleted after a change than before it, even if the diversion doesn't change. Let's look at an example. A water right owner has a water right for 3 acres of irrigation in an area where the duty value is set at 4 acre-feet per acre. He wants to change the use to include 50 cattle. How many acre-feet of water will he be able to divert after the change? Let's assume the rate of depletion for irrigation is 53%. Stock watering is considered to always be 100% consumptive. And first, we need to figure out how much water was actually being diverted and depleted. If we multiply acreage by the duty for the area, we get diversion. So he's been diverting 12 acre-feet. If 53% of that is being depleted, we multiply 12 by 53% to get a depletion of 6.36 acre-feet. This means any change to the water right cannot deplete more than 6.36 acre-feet of water. Now, let's look at how much water 50 cows would deplete. To do that, we multiply 50 times 0.028 acre-foot to get 1.4 acre-feet. Because the cows deplete 100% of the water, we subtract the 1.4 acre-feet from his 6.36 acre-feet of depletion to get 4.96 acre-feet of depletion left. So how much is left for him to use for irrigation? To calculate that, we divide 4.96 acre-feet by the consumptive rate of the crop, 53% in this case. And he has 9.36 acre-feet of diversion for irrigation remaining. Divide that by the duty of 4 acre-feet per acre, and he can irrigate 2.34 acres. Finally, he will need to indicate his new total diversion. Because his depletion has increased, his diversion will have to decrease. To do this, add the 1.4 acre-feet for the cows to the 9.36 acre-feet of irrigation for a total of 10.76 acre-feet.
Where do we find these consumptive rates?
So there is on our map search, so it's on the website. For irrigation, we have several different consumptive use tables. Depending on where it is, you can find that on just our map search. It's one of the tabs. And then I believe there's another link for depletion calculations on the website.
I'm planning on showing it tomorrow.
Jim will show you tomorrow. So. Here is a table of those calculations comparing the historical diversion and depletion and what would be allowed. If he had not accounted for the depletion rate and continued to divert the 12 acre feet, his depletion for the same amount of diversion would have increased from 6.36 acre feet to 7.02 acre feet, meaning he would be exceeding historic depletion by 0.66 acre feet. This would be considered an enlargement of the water right and is not allowed. Next, let's take a look at our application map wizard, which is located on our website by going to the applications forms and looking under miscellaneous applications. This can help when identifying a point of diversion for an application. This is an aerial map, and you can start by locating something nearby, such as a crossroad, or you can search by parcel number. The map can be generated with signature lines. Please note, this cannot be used as a proof map. Let's look at what you'll find on the map. If you search for a parcel, it would show up as a hatched area, and you can select the type of application you need for a map for. Under the Add Points of Diversion option, you can use the Click Map option if you want to click on a point to identify the point of diversion, or you can input the coordinates or input your water right, and it will place the point on the map for you. Once a point of diversion is selected on the map, a PLS location of the point of diversion automatically displays below the map as well as the signature area. Another helpful tool on our website is the map search. Located by clicking on the map search button on our main page, this map shows points of diversion in an area. Red dots are wells, blue dots are surface diversions, and pink dots are a well that has multiple water rights associated with it. If you click on one, you'll get a hyperlink for those water rights, making it easy to pull up the water right. The record will give information such as the owner of the right, how much water is associated with the right, etc. On the right-hand side of the map is a toolbar with several different options. If you select parcels on the Layers tab, white lines will appear around each parcel and you will be able to see the parcel number. On the right, there are several other options. Under the Base Map tab, you can change to another view, such as a topographic view. You can use the Search tab to search by address, water right number, parcel number, and more. With the Tools tab, you can print off what you're seeing, measure between two locations, and more. The map is designed to be as helpful as possible, so please take time to explore the options under it. I thank you for your time today and want to recap the information we covered. We began with several of our website tools and used to locate information and generate applications. We reviewed the information and elements that must be on the submitted applications. Next, we took a brief introduction into the public land survey system. After that, we did some basic water right calculations and reviewed diversion versus depletion. Finally, we looked at the online map wizard used to create application maps. Thank you again, and I open the floor to you for any questions.
Does Division of Water Rights care what Division of Drinking Water expects as far as like a municipality holding for water rights? Is there any correspondence between the two? Do you care? Because they're quite different. I mean, like you're saying that a domestic unit is 0.45 acre feet. Very rarely have I seen a domestic unit use 0.45. It's more like 0.2.
Yes, so
do you care that that's the case?
So for a municipality, they're going to submit their proof and what they're using kind of just based on their diversion limit. But for, if you're filing, if another water right owner is filing proof, theirs is going to be set at 0.45 acre feet.
So if an individual water right holder, he gets an exchange for 0.45 plus, 0.45, let's say, just for a domestic unit. They don't actually use that, but how do you, I guess the beneficial use is a domestic unit, so you don't care what they're using, it's just that they're beneficially using it for that. Is that
Yes, so it'll be quantified as 0.45 acre feet, but
okay.
I I think just to add a little information to what he's saying is that the 0.45 is a very conservative number for a single domestic unit, and I think we're all aware of that. And you're saying the full time is more like 0.2, and that's true. But we operate as conservative as possible within our division so that water doesn't run out, right? So we're not, and water does run out. So I mean, maybe we should be more conservative, but that would be more. I'm digressing. Okay, questions? Any more questions?
I'm wondering where we could find, I'm assuming it's on the website, but where can we find that duty map?
Are you going to show that yesterday, Jim, or tomorrow? He showed it yesterday, but he's also showing it tomorrow. Yes. 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 So he'll. Yeah. Yes, he'll show it. All right. Thank you.